we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who want it until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
Violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the insurrection. I'm Michael Lauber, and today I'm joined by Steve Hook, host of The Right Hook, which you can find every Friday afternoon at 4 p.m. right here on X America News. How you doing this morning, Steve?
Well, I'm doing good, man. On the eve of our 250th birthday, I'm doing great. But it's hot. I mean, it's hot. I don't know what you're doing in Ohio, but here it's going up to 100 plus today, just like it did yesterday.
Yeah, I think we're set for a feels like temperature of 104, and it's supposed to get up to an actual temperature of 96 or 97. I'm looking right now.
Yeah, it's gonna be hot. I blame all the European fans using the air conditioner.
Yeah. We'll have to push back. We'll talk about France and their thoughts here in a little bit. But it really is. The World Cup has been amazing to see all of these tourists from Europe and Asia and elsewhere around the world, South America, experiencing America for the in person for the first time. Their reaction to it, seeing the media there, it's propaganda and lies. It's not like they've been told. But the Democrats are just getting more and more off the rails, more and more crazy. We're going to go to some individual stories on that. But the left's deep hatred of America as we celebrate America's 250th anniversary. This is a great article up on Liberty Daily. If you guys want to check it out, I think it was pulled from the Epic Times. But they really are just like completely off their rocker. They're going further and further down this path. And right now, another great article over on Gateway. The lesser of two evils is still evil. That if you want the establishment Democrats, you're voting for high taxes, open borders, crime policies, failed schools, and more big government. With the Democrat socialists, the new breed of Democrats, all these DSA candidates, more taxes, government control, end of private property, defunding the police, and literally communism. That the Democrats have gone down this dark path further and further over the last 20, 30 years now, that this is not your grandparents' party anymore. And I mean,
hell, it's not even your older brother's party anymore. Good God.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the bottom line is they've gotten to the point now where a lot of these candidates are literally calling for the destruction of America and ending Western civilization. Like, this is not tolerable. We're going to have to make a choice, but unfortunately, I do think a lot of these wackos, these loons out in New York and Colorado and California, they're going to slip in. They will win their races. There is no real opposition to them.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely true. And this, of course, we discussed a little bit last week, is that you on one hand, you're saying, well, of course they're going to win. That look where they're from. They're from the bluest of the blue and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, that's true. And there are certainly, oases of patriotism dotted throughout the land. Good news is there's more of that than there are of them. But the bad news is this party, the Democratic Party, hey, look, they had to import voters
Yeah.
to begin with. They'll say they're not voters, but they are voters for congressional districting purposes. They may as well be voters. And in some instances, no doubt, some of them have voted. But the point is in doing that, they basically just said, we're throwing off anything that it ever meant to be American, and we're opening it up not just to globalism, but to socialism, the destruction of the evil white patriarchy, which they've created in their mind. They've decided to throw away capitalism, and who needs individual liberty anyway? All of this stuff, which is completely diametrically opposite of the founding of the country, or the reason we're celebrating tomorrow, 250 years of it. And they've gone the other way. And Michael, I tell you, I remember, and I think I mentioned this to you. I remember on my show back when AOC first got into Congress, when was that, 2012, I guess it was, thereabouts.
Something like that.
Yeah, and I said, Pelosi is going to rue the day that she gives people like this leadership roles on committees, because they will eat that party from within. And now, 10 years later, 13 years later, we're starting to really see that the worm has eaten the apple, so to speak.
Yeah.
And in New York, the big apple, because Zohran Mamdani is the new face of the Democratic Party. And somewhere, Scooter Jackson's rolling over in his grave.
Scoop Jackson?
What? Scoop Jackson.
Yes.
Scoop is rolling over in his grave because this is not the Democratic Party that he ever envisioned. I mean, they've always been wrong. But now they're not only wrong, but they're hateful in their antipathy towards the nation and at least half the citizenry. They hate it. They hate it. They hate it. They hate it.
Well, and they believe just absolutely delusional nonsense. That's part of it. They're just disconnected from reality. Whether you want to talk all this like 1619 crap about, this is the real origins of America because this is when the slaves were brought over, and everything affiliated with that. Even their history, what they've taught themselves through their and used to take over colleges and their educational system, going back to a people's history and all this, which is again just filled with you can literally go through.
Screw him.
Yeah,
and,
you can prove it's nonsense.
It is nonsense.
But the problem is, this is what they actually believe, and then this is what they're basing their policy on is delusional nonsense. There's no other way to put it. They're out of touch with reality. I mean, right now, we were talking off air right before we jumped on here about all these great stories, again from people over here for the World Cup right now. And, they're seeing through that veil right now, realizing they're lied to, and that's actually making the left angry. The New York Times had an article up, I think it was yesterday, about how, you guys shouldn't believe these videos from all these Europeans or whoever over here celebrating America and trying to make people believe, this is just a fraction of them, but the right-wing media machine is pushing out the propaganda. I mean, again, it's just delusional nonsense.
It's not only is it delusional nonsense, but it does point to one similarity that Europe has with America, a corrupt to the core press. Yes, they've been lied to about America. Their media, and in the UK, BBC specifically, but even some that used to be somewhat right-wing, like Sky News, they've all BS'd these folks as to the evils of America. Now they come over here and they see it. They're like, man, people have been welcoming. People are not rude and fat and loud and obnoxious like they make them out to be. Because rude, fat, obnoxious people, I got news for you. They live in Germany too. They live in the UK. They live in France. They're everywhere. But they were sold that that's what America was. And now they're seeing that it's not that way. And of course, that doesn't line up with today's leftists in the States. So they downplay it and say, America's not as great as these people are saying it is, and this is a small subset of a subset, which is funny because these same articles were saying, boy, I can't wait for the World Cup so we can show the world how much Trump sucks and how America is racist and bigoted. It's
Yeah,
going to be glorious to watch the downfall, and it's been anything but.
they haven't run into any Klan rallies in the streets yet. So yeah, the left are just disappointed. The other path the New York Times article took was that, oh well, what they're really celebrating here is just the food and the abundance, blah blah blah. But that's also part of what it means to be America. I mean, they're ignoring the AC too. They're all coming to realize maybe it's time for Europe to step out of the Stone Ages and add air conditioning to their heating and cooling systems. Well, I guess heating systems now. Poll, roughly 1/3 of Democrat voters want candidates who call themselves Democrat socialists. They want to break the chains of being just a regular old Democrat and go full on commie. But again, like, this is scary. But again, this is the direction their party is going. They're just totally unhinged. They've lost touch
what,
with
Michael,
the real
if
world.
I could just let me just say that. Let me just jump in real quick, because what you just said is so key. They've lost control of their party. Well, here's the thing. They have no moral grounding on anything.
Yeah.
They will ship. And I'm talking about Democrats now inside the Beltway. Pelosi, Schumer, Raskin, all of them. They have no moral, grapple on reality, on terra firma here. So they will go whichever way the wind blows. If the wind blows to the LGBTQ plus 1A subset of the subset, they'll go that way. They're trying to round up as many angry people as they can, and they're trying to anger more people as they go. It's really sad. Now, the only good news about this 1/3 of Democrats would prefer a candidate tag themselves as a Democrat socialist because we love socialism, blah, blah, blah. The good news about that is that most of those people are young. And young people they get very, very rowdy when it comes to going out and being paid to hold signs pre-printed before the demonstration. But they're not so quick to go vote, and they have not been voting. People say, Republican voting is way down in these primary season. That's true. People are pissed. There's no doubt about it. But we have not seen a likewise increase in Democrat voting.
Well, we have in a lot of states.
They're winning in their blue areas, and that's what scares me, because their blue areas are pretty big. But I think the Democrat Party is in the middle of an implosion, and they're trying to deflect by saying people hate Trump and people love socialism. I'm not so sure that's true.
Well, I mean, the issue, though, is Democrat voters are turning out at the polls in high numbers. So, whether it's for the DSA candidate,
numbers, not like they are really rushing out there.
Well, they are.
They tend to vote more in the primaries than Republicans do. That's for sure.
Yeah, no. They did. They have in a lot of states.
I know. But they always have.
But we're seeing increases again. And I don't want to deny that reality, because we've got to be prepared for it. That's one of the issues with these upcoming primaries. Like, we should be running away with it, but the issue so far we're seeing is has been high, or at least decent, Democrat turnout, and almost across the board on the right, we are missing the mark between 20 and 30%, even for a primary. Their base gets out no matter what, and that's they will vote for blue no matter who. And I mean, that's part of the problem, and it's part of why I'm so confident that these DSA candidates will get carried through. This should have been poison that, even 10 years ago, some of these people had gotten through the primary somehow. When it came to the general, people wouldn't go out and vote for them. But I'm really not convinced that's going to be the case going forward. I think there's a lot of Democrats that are unhappy about this move, when we've seen some talking about it, especially now they want to take down Hakeem Jeffries and everyone else. And even the DSA leadership in New York, I can't think what the guy's name was now, is out there saying, that they just need the Democrat Party infrastructure. Their plan is to take over. It's going to continue. I mean, this is where the money is driven on the left, too. And that's going to drive, regardless what their candidates or whoever else say, if these are the candidates getting funding and getting donations, they're going to lead that party around.
Well, George and Alex Soros just dumped over $100 million into their coffers. Now, mind you, that once upon a time, that would have been massive news as recently as a decade ago, maybe even less. Now it's not so much because, well, there's one man alive that could quadruple that amount and not even sweat it, and that's Elon Musk. If Elon Musk decided to say, "Oh, they dropped $100 million in the DNC's coffers, here's $2.5 billion for," I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I think that the money it gets talked about right now. The RNC has got a lot more money for the general election than the DNC does.
Yeah.
I don't think socialism is going to have the far reach that it could have for the country, mind you. It will in these areas where they're at. You're right. New York City is gone, and it'll be gone for the next couple of decades. There's no question of that. These idiots seem to think, some of these people that proudly voted for Zoran Mandami are out there now saying, we've got the lowest crime rates of any new mayor in the history of New York. Well, when you stop arresting people, you get low crime numbers. It's no... Good God. I mean, if you stop arresting them, you're not going to see them. And also they're saying he's balanced the budget. No, the hell he didn't. He got bailed out by the governor, Kathy Hochul, who was just scared to death that she was going to get the Hakeem Jeffries treatment. So she's bent over backwards to kiss this commie Zoran Mandami's ass. And she bailed them out. And then he put the rest of that in unfunded, obligatory, mind you, government programs that's going forward. So this is just nonsense. New York's going to die. And when it does, so will the hopes of socialism, because Americans have a long memory, and they're not going to forget how this city was turned to a hellhole because of a commie, just like they didn't forget David Dinkins when he destroyed it with his brand of leftism. So I know it's going to hurt a lot of people, and I'm with you on I don't really care anymore. I do care about some of them because I know some of them I know some people that live in that city. I know people that live in California. They're as conservative as you and I. They have as many guns as you or I. Maybe not legally, but yes, definitely legally, of course.
They have a sanctuary safe.
Yeah, they have a sanctuary safe, if you will. No, but the point is that I don't fear the country's history as we look down 250th anniversary as much as I fear the complete destruction of the Democratic Party, because I do believe that you need two strong parties, and the Democrat Party is, I think, for good, it will implode on itself and cave in, and then the socialists will rise up, and then at that point, maybe common sense will come back and Democrats will find a way to rebrand themselves. I don't know. I've never trusted Democrats, but shit, what do I know?
That's not going to happen. They're not going to rebrand themselves or come back to sanity. That ship sailed several years ago.
It may take 2 decades. I'm saying I'm looking at the long game, not the short game. Short game is to embrace all of this crap.
Yeah. Well, I know what you're saying, but I think it'd be better if they just sailed off into the sunset to some mental institution out there, and maybe we replace them with libertarians or something, the Constitution Party, something a little more common sense than where the left is today. But they're already they may be dying off quicker than you or I think, because they're definitely feeling the warm embrace of socialism in New York right now. Mamdani tells New Yorkers to set thermostats to 78 degrees to alleviate stress on the grid amid life-threatening heat wave. Yeah, well, are they going to turn down the temperature on Taylor Swift's wedding this weekend? Probably not.
No,
I'm sure Gracie Manor's still at a comfortable 68 degrees. I love seeing a lot of these New Yorkers posting that they're turning down their thermostat an extra 10 degrees just because he told them to turn it up to 78. But again, this is who the left is. This is their solutions.
He's telling people, especially in senior care facilities, he's telling the senior care facility owners essentially, you should turn it to 78. So who's he going after? He's going after the most vulnerable. He's going after these. I heard the quote, but what do you think would happen if a New York City senior care facility that got city funding didn't act on that? You think they'd see their funding dry up? Especially, let's just hypothetical this thing out. Let's say it was a Jewish senior living center in Lower Manhattan that received government grants from the city government, which all of them do. What do you think would happen if somebody comes and inspects and sees that their thermostat is at 71? Think they would lose funding? Under Zoran Mandami, I guarantee you they'd lose funding. This is the problem with putting all your trust in this benevolent government that is impossible.
Yeah, well, you're exactly right. Now, I'm actually looking for a story right now that I was going to throw in here and forgot to grab. But they did cut power to a Jewish neighborhood yesterday in the Bronx.
Well, there you go. There you go. Shocker.
Yeah, let me find this here real quick. Yeah, now I can't remember where I saw it. I should have just grabbed it when it popped up.
Well, while you're looking for that, I'll just say that Mandami gave a speech today reflecting on America's 250th birthday, and it was the most divisive, anti-American piece of filth that I've ever heard escape an elected official's mouth. And that's saying something. He basically blamed the entire problem in this country on patriotic Americans, especially whites that don't like other shades of skin color, he said, don't particularly like accents. I mean, all of this stuff, exactly what the left does, saying that the rest of the country that doesn't fall in lockstep with his commie idea, and I don't give a damn, you can call it democratic socialism all you want, a rose by any other name is still a stinking commie rose. And that's what he's got going in New York. So I can't wait to get the hell south, brother. That's all I'm trying to say, I guess.
Pretty much. You get as far away from this cancer as humanly possible. Well, I couldn't find that headline, but I did find another one. This is pretty funny, too. The AC Wars, French right-wing national rally promises air conditioners for the people, while the globalist parties only offer long-term climate solutions to the heat season. I would say they only offer endless suffering. We'll get more into France and all this here in a minute, but yeah, I mean, I think it's just illustrative of the greater problem. And again, that the left always put humanity last. Their argument is that if we have more air conditioning, we produce more energy, it'll harm the planet. I don't buy this for a minute. And I guess just to bring this in France, mon Dieu, Paris's socialist deputy mayor blames U.S. for French heat wave. There was a great illustration of this, like a giant air conditioner on the continent, North America, chilling us, while all the heat from the air conditioner goes to France.
I mean, oh my God, she looks like she looks like she hates everything. Yeah, I mean, that right there is the kind of nonsense you'd expect. Look, I love Europe. I've been to Europe several times. Love the history of it. Love the architecture. Love the food. Love most of the people are very, very nice. Their politics is so unbelievably broken there. We think our Democratic Party is broken.
Yeah.
Look what's going on all over Europe. You're having these, and they notice, Michael, that they always call them far right-wing groups.
They call them Nazis.
You'll never, ever hear the media say far left-wing group unless it's a right-wing media source, but you're never going to hear CNN say that this woman is far left. She is far left, very far left, but they'll never say that. They'll say far right-wing groups are saying they're going to turn the thermostats down just to buck the system. Well, first of all, they don't have many thermostats because there's not much AC over there. I stayed in Amsterdam, beautiful old city, loaded with history, a lot of fun. Stayed at a very expensive hotel, and they had what they called half air. It wasn't even an air conditioning. It was basically a fan with a condenser in it that it cooled down to the extent it could, and then it would blow out moist heat on you. It was miserable in July. So don't go to Europe in the summertime is my advice, because you're not going to get air conditioning.
Yeah, even when I was there previously, same thing, like none of the hotels in Belgium that we stayed at had actual air conditioning, so we were opening the windows once it warmed up. And Romania, now they actually did have air conditioning in the hotel room when I was there the first time, but we were also in a really nice high-end hotel that time in the capital. But again, it's blaming, it's climate change, it's the US, it's capitalism, that's why it's hot here right now. In reality, like, yeah, it's hotter in Europe than it was last year, but all you have to do is go back 2 years and it was hotter then. But again, that's not how they report it. They pretend it's
They
a
never
crisis.
report it that way. It's so funny you would say that, because I was just watching local news here. I'm on the Jersey Shore, so I get local New York news. And they're out there in the middle of Central Park saying this is the hottest. Now, notice the way what they say. The hottest reported day since 1911. I'm like, well, wait a minute now. Slow back. Since 1911. So in 1911, long before all these air conditioners were everywhere, long before the days of the SUVs, long before any of this crap. Oh, sure, there were some smokestack industries, but come on, we've managed, all of a sudden it was hotter then. It's heads I win, tails you lose. That's the way they use the climate. That's the way they use race. That's the way they use sexual orientation. That's the way they're like weeds that look for cracks in the sidewalk and then just take it over. And that's what the left is doing right now. And they've done it to the Democratic Party. It's gone.
Well, and I'm sure, however they're framing things to come up with this supposed statistic, that an honest review of daily temperatures in New York going back to 1911, I'm absolutely certain, without even looking, that you could find plenty of days that were hotter than it is today there, but it's about generating a headline and creating a narrative. They're going to frame it in some ridiculous way so that they're technically correct, but not truthful. And again, that's a big part of the problem with the left, that they are, again, delusional. And this is the kind of nonsense they push forward.
Well, when you think with your emotions, Michael, when you're an emotionally charged animal, which all hard leftists are, and that's why so many of them are younger, because you're more emotional when you're younger. That's what they do. So they will always use statistics. It's lies by omission. The context is shaded in. They expect you, here's the narrative, you just say this, and these emotionally charged people who already have been, have already been primed to hate capitalism, already been primed to hate nationalism or patriotism, we'd call it. Then you throw in this heat, and then you can blame that on them too. So this is what they do. They're emotional. They're not logical.
Yeah, and that's what leads to insane stuff like this. Hank Johnson, by the way, he's the one that thought if Guam's population increased, the island would flip over because it got too heavy. That is the same Hank Johnson. Says if Democrats don't fight back and win the midterms, black people will end up back in the cotton fields. Again, like, you would think the media could at least ask one question, like, have you ever heard this rhetoric from any elected Republican anywhere? No, of course not. No. But again, they pretend it's reality. You got Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Reid and other people echoing similar nonsense out there, trying to scare people. And the idiots that believe it. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, I remember a once president of the United States saying, change. They promise you change. Hell, they're going to have you back in chains. Remember that? That was Joe Biden.
Yep.
Yeah. And so this is, like I said, they exploit every possible, they exploit everything. And Hank Johnson, that idiot, felt like Guam would tip over like his rubber ducky in the bathtub might. So he's appeasing his constituents, and I know exactly which district he's at in Atlanta. It's not a very well educated district, and they are.
It shows that they're representative.
Blue, no matter who, especially if it's somebody who's black. I'll put it that way. And there's a lot of people in that district that are disgusted by Hank Johnson, that are just as black as he is. And by the way, Hank, you needn't worry, brother, if people are back in the fields picking cotton, because you will be in the big house. I'm sure of that. If you can start playing that stupid racist game.
Yeah, well, again, it's all they got. Well, maybe Katie Wilson has it figured out, and she knows the path forward for the Democrats. Wilson lures trans refugees to Seattle with taxpayer-funded sex change surgeries. Um, that seems like a winning issue to me. I mean, what better thing to do for your constituency? She doesn't understand either. Like I saw this other interview with her. I can't remember if it was last week or maybe it was Monday, but some small business, I believe it was a restaurant, is closing because of her minimum wage policy, which is, I don't even remember, like $25 an hour now or something. They can't stay in business, they can't pay the wages, they're shutting down. And she generally like looked like she felt betrayed. Like, how can this happen? How could my policies force this business to close? What don't they understand about the glories of socialism and equality for all? But I mean, she was laughing a few months ago about all the big businesses that were leaving or considering leaving the city because of the tax increases and everything else, and then the crime and things like this. But
Starbucks left Seattle. What does that tell you? Starbucks
Yeah.
left Seattle. Okay. Starbucks synonymous. It'd be like Coca-Cola leaving Atlanta. I mean,
Yeah.
and this idiot laughs it off. They don't, again, when you're emotional, and I hate to keep coming back to that, Michael, but when you are all about feelings and my feels, it got me in the feels and my truth and all this kind of bullshit that the left goes on and on about. When it bumps up into the cold wall of reality, economic and otherwise, it always folds. It always loses, and then they blame it on everybody that they hate, which is everybody. Apparently.
Well, it's when reality comes into a collision with their fantasies, that's the real culprit there. But again, like when we have this many delusional people in the United States that just aren't willing to look at reality on any issue, whether it's the harm from illegal immigration, destruction of families from their LGBTQ MS-13 policies in our schools and everywhere else, it's like something is literally wrong with these people. I mean, I don't know what it is. We do need, the worst of the worst really do need to go into mental institutions. But, I've been thinking too, maybe it's time we start screwing with them too and creating more, make them make the hard choice. Like, I think we ought to start pushing a mandatory abortion policy for all illegal aliens, especially with this birthright citizenship thing from the Supreme Court, and then to see what side they come down on. Are all these left Looney Tunes going to be like, that's a great idea, we need more abortions, like they say otherwise? Or is it suddenly they're going to, like, how much cognitive dissonance can you have? How many times can you bang your head against that wall before you start realizing what's actually going on here? I mean, I don't think they'd even realize we were screwing with them. And I do think half their rabid base would be like, yes, we need more abortions, as many abortions as we can have. So yes, abortions for all illegal aliens. And other ones would have to be like, well, then we won't have illegal aliens in the future. We'll be killing all these black and brown potential future Democrat voters that we imported while Biden was here. So I think it's time to start messing with it.
The only thing that the silver lining here is most people grow out of this particular brand of idiocy. They do, because most, hey, look, in my youth, I was a hippy dippy Grateful Dead following liberal. Still love the Grateful Dead, but I don't espouse any of the ideas that I once thought to be true. Because I grew up, I got a mortgage, I had children, I have a grandson, I've lived, and most of these ideas die in the crib, and that's the reason why it's scary that big cities and states like Colorado are starting to embrace this stuff. So we may have to kind of live through the growing pains of what we know is going to happen to these places. They're going to go belly up. They're gonna go to seed real quick. New York City it's already starting, no matter what they tell you. But most people grow out of this kind of thought. But some of them, I believe, like you said, I believe some of them are genuinely mentally ill. And it seems to me that the ones that are more mentally ill get the biggest microphones, or the ones that are just con men like this Hassan Piker moron. They're going to get the megaphone because they're screaming the loudest and they're the most emotional. And, there you go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is my one concern, though, even there is one thing that is different that we're seeing, and I get the percentages, especially with the Gen Z and under, that they are turning more towards conservatism and actually like libertarianism. There's a big segment there. Um, but it's almost like the ones that are on the left are kind of like doubling down when their fantasies don't work out the way they think they will. They just blame the system, not themselves. There's zero responsibility, zero self-reflection on any of these issues. Now, yes, there are a few exceptions to that, but it and I haven't finished reading this very long article about this yet, but it's really been making me think about that. And this, they're blaming the education system for this, and I think that's probably correct because they've also been set up, and the things that they've been indoctrinated with are, well, if this fails, this is why. It's because of capitalism. It's because of this, because of that. So I mean, I would hope we could enlighten these people to a different viewpoint, but I think there's a high percentage of them where like they've already made the commitment, and even when reality slaps them in the face, I don't know that they're going to change.
Well, what you're describing there are the true believers.
Yeah,
And yeah, true believers don't. I mean, hello, we're fighting a war in Iran right now with Iran right now, and trying to negotiate some form of peace with them. And that entire government is made up of true believers. The
yeah,
thing is, though, that kind of ideological, you know,
brain rot.
concreteness that
Oh,
yeah, well, yeah, brainwash, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't infect as many people as I think that we may think. I do
yeah,
think that it turns into kind of a group think mob mentality, especially in these blue areas where they're like they love Zoran, they love
yeah,
him no matter what because he's doing great. But when reality, as we've mentioned, slaps him in the face, you can only start continually blame capitalism and stuff like this for so long until all of a sudden you're like one of these people from Europe at the World Cup saying, America, we owe you an apology. We were lied to. And
yeah,
that's going to happen with more and more of these people. I don't think people that embrace patriotism are all of a sudden one day going to wake up and say, you know what, screw it, I was wrong. But I do
yeah,
think people that embrace something foreign, which is socialism, communism, and they start seeing the seeds of that wicked weed take fester in their lives, then they'll reject it. I hope so. I hope I'm right, but it's a
yeah.
concern, and I think we both share in that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think part of why it's so hard to break modern leftists is the self-induced struggle sessions. They put anyone from their ilk through if they do start to question or stand up to anything, and I mean anything. Even if one of them says, hey, maybe our kids shouldn't be going to drag shows or whatever, that they're immediately cast out as an other. Their whole friend group is gone. That they use that kind of pressure in order to keep their people in line. And you really do have to have courage and be willing to separate yourself from not just the political views, but the entire lifestyle if you're going to make a change. That they've essentially
True.
been indoctrinated to such an extent, and there are enforcers out there on their side. Somebody leaves the right, we might make fun of them or whatever, but it doesn't really happen that often. Whereas the left, there is a real struggle session is the best word for it. That there
Yeah.
is a real attempt to wreck their lives, destroy things that are close to them. They will be kicked out and exiled from friends, from hobbies, from everything else because they dared, had the audacity to question something.
Well, why do you
Let's
think
go.
they hate John Fetterman so much? It's one of the reasons why they
Yeah,
despise Fetterman. I don't know what the poly marketer Kalshi bet line on Fetterman flipping parties, but I bet it's gone up significantly
yeah,
because he's one of the few out there that throws it right back in their face. And I will say this too, and you may roll your eyes at this, but I think it's true. Bill Maher. When you start seeing
yeah,
big time former, and Bill Maher is still very much a leftist, don't get me wrong, and probably same with Fetterman. But when they start calling out the nonsense, um, and they're just two examples, there's many more, but not as many as we wish there were. But when they start
yeah,
calling out the nonsense, I think they're speaking to the old school Democrat. And I think that maybe not inside the political class right now, but inside the voter base of the Democrat Party that has been shattered, there's a lot of them. And I don't think that kind of hard BS that this mayor in New York or the people that just got nominated in Colorado or wherever. I don't think they're going to be able to win back those people. I don't think Bill Maher is ever going to say, you know what, maybe I was wrong about socialism. Maybe I was wrong about all that. I'm going to come back your way. I don't think Bill Maher is going to go back there as long as the party looks like it does.
Yeah, maybe not. Because again,
He's never going to go Republican. Don't get me wrong.
Exactly.
But he's always going to call out the hard left idiocy that is the Democrat Party right now.
Yeah, but like, does that matter then? If even if they're calling it out, they're still going to the polls and voting for it, saying, well, I'm going to still have. I guess I have to vote for this candidate, even though they're a crazy socialist still, because they've got a D next to their name.
Some of them will.
Yeah, I think we've already picked off the ones that we were going to get in 2024. Maybe we'll grab a few more, or ones that came from socialist, communist countries that are here now, legal immigrants, and see the path that their party's going down. But otherwise, I just don't buy it. Let's go ahead and jump though here to our next story, because Dem ex-campaign staffer calls for trans jihad, urges followers to kill your local Republican in Wisconsin. And this again, we have more and more of this. When you're embracing mental illness on the left, as you are, don't be surprised when you see more of this from these violent assault trannies.
Violent assault trannies. VATs, as they call them in the intel groups. The VATs. Well, I'll tell you something. You can color me shocked that someone that is so mentally deranged that they insist that they're a woman, even though they are clearly biologically not. I can't.
Low effort T people
start threatening. I can't believe that guy would start threatening people. He seems so rational and logical, but
I know, but he fooled me. I mean, I don't know how how does this keep happening?
I know. I mean, he looks. Can you put that picture up again? Because the one that. Yeah, you see now, I'm telling you, right there in the library or that in front of the bookcase, that looks a lot like Jennifer Aniston in her prime. Come on, admit it, Michael.
Right. Dude, like most of these, like I always call them low effort T people. You ain't fooling nobody. The Pizza Hut analogy really is perfect, because it doesn't matter what the building is now. You can look at it and you can tell from the roof and the design of the building that used to be a Pizza Hut. It doesn't matter how much paint or makeup they put on it, how much they dress up the outside of the property. They changed the sign. Yeah, there's one here they even repainted the roof green. It's a check cashing place now down the road.
Pizza Hut. Now it's a Vietnamese pho restaurant, and but everybody knows it's a Pizza Hut. And I'm telling you, this dude right here is Pizza Hut. There's no question.
Everybody knows it. Even they know it. That's why they go crazy and then start shooting people or, call for people's deaths. It's because, again, it's this being out of touch with reality. It's this being just totally delusional. And in the case of all the T people, wanting everyone else to go along with their delusion, that if you don't go, yeah, you're a beautiful woman, they just might kill you.
Yeah, if you don't acknowledge my delusions, then I'm going to have to end your life. Thankfully that's very few of them, but they're all mentally unstable. And who encourages that mental instability?
Instability.
Who encourages that? The media encourages that. Hollywood encourages that. God knows the Democratic Party encourages that. So they are the wind beneath the tranny's wings. And I would normally have never, ever given a damn about transgenders. I would have never really thought about it. But it comes to a point where they're shoving this stuff down you. And then all of a sudden you have to pretend that biology no longer matters. That maybe biology in itself is bigoted. Biology is bigoted, don't you know? So
but trust the science.
It's alternate reality, and if you're not ready to accept an alternate reality as opposed to real reality, then you're the problem. It sounds like a you problem to me. Them, not me.
Yeah, you bigot. Yeah, well, I mean, I can't help but wonder too, like if this mental instability, especially among the transvestites out there, isn't also because all the cross-sex hormones and other drugs they're taking that haven't been properly tested for things like that, which again they're going to deny. But only trust the science until the science interferes with your delusional political worldview. Um, but yeah, something really does have to be done about this because there is a disproportionately massive propensity to violence from the T people. I mean, and I'm not just talking all the mass shootings. We start looking at the statistics and the homicide rate. When these retards like Mayor Brandon Johnson of Chicago says, "Oh, there's a what is it? Femtransicide," or I can't even remember what word he came up with now. But it was about violence against trans people. Well, most of it's committed by other trans people and other people like that in their community. It's because these people are just mentally unhinged and go off and attack people. But I wonder if you load people down with cross-sex hormones or these other drugs, like it has to have an effect. And maybe I think it should be obvious at this point. One of those effects is a higher propensity towards violence.
Well, could be. Somebody should be studying that. That's for damn sure. But
that would be racist.
Look, yeah. If you study it, you're racist. All I know is this: when you see people carrying banners that say LGBTQ plus 1A for the liberation of Palestine,
yes,
you know that these people don't really know anything about reality. They live in their rainbow bubble. And their rainbow bubble makes sure to protect all of them. And that's where their head is at. So the second that bubble is popped, they lash out. I'm not just talking about the T people. I'm talking about the left in general. It has not, for me, with the I think your point against transgenders is not against, but your belief that maybe the drugs and the hormones they're being pumped with may have some mental effect. I agree with that. But the real problem started long before they ever took a pill.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was encouraged and it was propped up. And you're 8 years old and you feel like putting on a dress. Well, that's because you're a girl. I mean, there's some leftist parents out there. Every time you start this show, The Insurrection, and it gets to the scene where that boy with the fuchsia wig is parading.
Desmond the Amazing or whatever.
What?
Yeah, Desmond the Amazing or whatever it calls itself. But yeah, I mean that's parental abuse, and you're right. Like there are obvious underlying factors. These people were mentally ill to begin with. It's being encouraged, and all of a sudden, when somebody's saying, "No, dude, you are definitely not a woman," it's like they're so emotional. It just it breaks them that they have to have everybody go along with the fantasy. But and yeah, it being encouraged by the left and not addressing the real problem, just like illegals and everything else.
But Michael, the left encourages it because they know that it's a fracture. They know that they can exploit it. That's the only reason they encourage it. They don't encourage it because they give two damns about transgenders' mental health or physical health. They don't. They say they do because then they can say, we're your allies. And that's why I'm an ally. Oh,
intersectionality.
I'm an ally with reality and biology. If you want to live your life as a man and you're born a woman, have at it. I don't give a rip. And vice versa. If you're want to live your life as a woman and you're born a man, good. But the second you start forcing the civil society to change definitions, everything from pronouns to what it means to be a woman, you've lost the argument because now you're, but they can't see it that way.
Nope.
It's really bizarre.
Yeah. Well, we're about out of time, so I'm going to try to speed run these last few here. Ohio Capitol raises Somali flag over City Hall to celebrate country's Independence Day. This is unbelievable here because, we're already over $4 billion in frauds from the Somalis here. They ought to deport this mayor, everybody at City Hall, all the Somalis. I don't care if they're U.S. citizens or not. Get them the hell out of the country. You're going to raise this flag the day before Independence Day at the City Hall in Columbus. You got to go. But, again, not all heroes wear capes. They did the same bullshit up in Buffalo, New York. Patriotic pirates steal Somali flag that was raised over Buffalo City Hall ahead of 4th of July. And we should be doing the same thing here in Ohio. I don't understand again the left's embracing a group made of primarily criminals, and that again. I also don't understand how you can be whining and crying about temporary protected status for a group that's been here over 30 years now. It still has not assimilated or become citizens or anything else. Sorry, homie, you gotta go. I mean, the Haitian temporary protected status was supposed to last 18 months. I think we're closing in on 18 years. Uh,
Yeah.
it, it's upside down and backwards. But again, why do we have U.S. cities raising Somali flags, celebrating their independence while trying to do their best to trash America and ignore ours?
Well, I'll tell you why. For one, because they view the Somali new arrivals as part of their a huge voter
Colt.
bloc that will always
Yes.
vote blue. And two, because even those non-Somali hard leftists will see the immediate reaction from the right and conservatives, and they'll be able to satiate their own virtue, faux virtue, by saying, see, they're racist. They want that flag removed because they're racist. And then they have proven their own confirmation bias. They have assured themselves that consciously they are on the right moral footing.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the rest of us just look at it as this is obvious baiting by a hard leftist, and you morons fall for it every single time because you're morons. That's why that flag should never be. And if you're going to raise the Somali flag, like any other flag, it has to be below the U.S. flag. But they don't do that. They raise it right up there with the flag. And given how Somalis have treated every major city they've been a part of course, thanks to Nick Shirley exposing all that in Minneapolis, I don't know why any politician would do it, but I mean, I really do, but I don't.
You know what? I think we need to host a Somali flag burning and just see how the left reacts to that. If they react the same way if you destroy a pride flag or whatever, where that's like literally a crime now in several places.
And they celebrate American flags burning, so.
Yeah, correct. So I think it's time to burn some Somali flags. Let's throw some Qurans. Let's burn some Qurans while we're at it too. Let's just stir them all up. That way we can see the demons really come out. Yeah, because we shouldn't be accepting any of this. But sometimes heroes do wear capes. Mexican Batman keeps gift wrapping bad guys and leaving them for the cops, but you'll never guess who the police are after. Of course, they want to arrest this guy. Apparently, he's patrolling the streets of Mexico. And like he beat up some motorcycle thieves. Like this is multiple incidents now with the same guy where he's coming across criminals, pounding the crap out of them. And that picture there is real, where he left them duct taped to a telephone pole to be picked up.
And the police are after Batman.
Batman.
I wouldn't be surprised if this continues, if this Cape Crusader Act continues south of the border, to see a couple of cops taped to a pole. That entire government is riddled throughout with cartel influence. There's no question of that. And of course they're going after this guy. It's like Citizen Vigilante, by the way, which I watched in its entirety. And I, of course I'm like going, oh, that's a little bit rough. But at the same time, you were right about one thing about that movie. When they show the reporters, they're actually reading what actually was in the news and what was said at court.
Yes.
You could see all that stuff. So yeah, but what's going on in Mexico, that's glorious to see.
Yeah. Well, it's like I think I mentioned, I did finally watch Citizen Vigilante over last weekend. And, it's definitely a message that needs to be heard. The plot of the movie and some of the acting and stuff is a little cheesy. It's not a great movie in that regard. But the story is exactly what the world needs to see right now, especially with, taking some of the judges and politicians and reporters' words and then using those exactly in the script, trying to cover up the crimes, excuse the crimes, and instead blame the victims, which is what's going on in Europe, and it's getting just totally out of control. All right, let's see if we can sneak in another one here. UN health expert says people are unhealthy due to pillaging of resources. She looks like she's pillaged some resources. States need to adopt anti-racist policies. I'm, again, not quite sure how these items are all connected, but that's what Talang Mafokeng, whatever. That's what it thinks.
Talang Mokfengning. Yeah, she does look like she's pillaged a few resources. It reminds me of the quote that Reagan one time said. He goes, Democrats can't see a fat man standing next to a skinny man without thinking the fat man got that way by stealing from the skinny man. Well, nobody can make that argument with Tanang. She looks like an overstuffed marshmallow. And she's saying that and she's a human rights health minister. There you go.
Yeah.
That's the jokes write themselves.
They really do. And again, like, how is it this happens over and over again? I should have thought about this ahead of time. I'm sure you've seen that picture that has all these, like, Belgium's health minister who weighs, about 600 pounds, or Canada's. It looks like she's been dead for a week and nobody told her. I think it was Germany's, and I don't remember what was wrong with that person. But, it's always the most malformed, obviously unhealthy, disgusting people the left puts in these kind of roles. And then again, they believe just idiot nonsense like this. But it isn't about truth. It isn't about science. It's about whatever pushes their political agenda. Yeah, and in her case, the fries closer to her table.
Yeah, she probably gets offended if they ask her if she wants to supersize it. Look at me. Of course I want you to supersize it. Why do you bother me with that question? Look, I just remember not too long ago where we had a T person as our health advisor in the Biden administration.
Oh, right. Yes.
So, I guess this is a job that really is all about DEI. Whether it's in the United States or whether it's in France or whether it's in Germany, or where was this chick from?
The UN.
The UN. Okay, so she's a UN. They're all the same. They're all freaks, and they're coming for your children.
Yep.
She's coming for an extra large portion of fries.
Yep. Well, speaking of freaks, Rumor Awareness Month is over, but we're going to touch on a few. Touch on is a terrible phrase for that. A few stories to celebrate it ending. Seattle parade participants stripped naked and chased children around a water fountain. I'm glad they have the little censor blocks over this, but this isn't the only city this happened at. There was another article, and let me see if I have it. I don't remember. I think it was in Oregon where this happened in another city, exactly the same way. But why are these perverts allowed? Every one of these people should be arrested and registered as a sex offender and never allowed, within 300 feet of a child ever again.
Well, I believe me when I say I'm not playing devil's advocate, but I'm going to tell you what their answer is. Their answer is, we're just being prideful of who we are. We weren't even really chasing the kids around. The kids just happened to be there. And that's the problem. They
don't care. Bring back witch burnings.
I'm not saying they didn't do that. I think they did. But my point is, they think that you're wrong to stop them from frolicking naked with children. After all, it's just their natural disposition anyway. So they don't even see, that's what I mean. When you don't have any morality at all, they don't see anything wrong with that. Just like, they cheer Islam, and they don't seem to say anything with a 6-year-old being forced to marry a 76-year-old man. They don't have a problem with that because they have no grounding in morality. In fact, they roll their eyes at the notion of it. So it doesn't surprise me this would happen in Seattle or Portland. It's a blue city that's a very red city, if you take my meaning. They're commies. And
that's all there is to it. Well, again, not all heroes wear capes. Los Angeles man arrested for shooting BB gun at naked bike riders taking over the city. And again, I'm sure there's decency laws out there. Why is it, we ignore and don't enforce those? Let these people ride their bikes through the city naked, where everybody can see them. And again, if we had any common sense, that every one of these people would be locked up. Again, it's time to bring back witch burnings.
She's a witch. How do you know? She turned me into a newt. Well, I got better. Yeah. Well, listen, but notice where these stories are originating from, Michael. Seattle,
deep blue states.
Portland, LA. I'd like to see these guys on the bikes try that in, I don't know, Fort Worth, Texas. See how that plays for you. There's
Bringing back decriminalizing public sex gay bathhouses.
yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah. That's a winning issue. Let's just, red light districts are back. We'll have, oh yeah, we're going to be so European, just like over in Amsterdam. We'll have red light districts. It'll be nice and classy.
Right.
They roil in filth, and they will always roil in filth. And again, it goes back to the thing that morality is not on their plate, and they look down on you if you embrace any type of morality. It's
they don't want to be judged because they know what they're doing is horrible.
Yes, exactly right. They know it's horrible, but they embrace the seedier sides of human whatever
nature.
The more of this I see, the better, really, in the long run, because most people are going to look at this and go, well, that's just insane. I mentioned David Dinkins earlier, the mayor of New York back in the 70s. Take a look at some of the Son of Sam pictures and look how seedy New York City was. 42nd Street was loaded with hookers and pimps. It was horrible, and they're re-embracing all of it. Good luck to them.
That is in their nature, just like the scorpion. Any words of wisdom and any exciting plans for the weekend celebrating the 4th of July?
Well, the only words of wisdom, I don't have any words of wisdom, but I will say this. I'm going to be celebrating the 4th of July. And because of that, I will not do the show today at 4 p.m. We will not be doing, but we will be back next week, and we'll talk about all the festivities. I'm going to be, protecting my dogs who freak out at the sound of fireworks. And I live in a neighborhood where everybody shoots off fireworks all the time. And this particular year, I'm going to try not to be angry about it. Sometimes, though, at 11 o'clock at night, somebody's firing off fireworks, you get pissed off. But so I'll be guarding the dogs, cooking the hot dogs and the burgers, and being an American, drinking beer while sitting around the pool.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm just going to go out and try to find ways to make the left angry. Maybe I'm going to go burn some Somali flags out there and then celebrating, have a nice cookout. But I think my main goal is to make a few leftists cry over the weekend. I think that's not just my duty as an American, but that is your obligation, is try to make some leftist life miserable this weekend, make them even more unhinged and unhappy. It is your duty. All right, guys.
Yeah, just ask them to stop them in the street and put your hand over your heart and say, would you like to join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance, and see how that goes.
Would you like to join me in a prayer? And then you might have to call.
Prayer for the common man.
Yeah, you might have to literally call an exorcist then. But yeah, thank you for joining, Steve. Thank you to our audience for being with us here today. Happy 4th of July. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't.